to the Goat Tavern TV. We're here in the backstage area of the USF for the third day of the third edition of Blastfest. We have the honor to have Ravn from 1349, one of the most anticipated bands of the whole festival. Hello, how are you?
I'm good, thank you.
So you just finished a stunning set. A lot of people were very happy about having you here. What was it like for you?
It's good. It's always good to come back to Bergen, and it's one of the first shows that we ever did was in Bergen. We played at the Hole in the Sky. One of the first editions was the Hole in the Sky, and we had the honor to come back and play that festival at several occasions. And Bergen crowd's always been really good, and I think Bergen needs an international metal festival like this due to so many important bands that come from this region. So to have it here in Bergen is quite fitting, and it's a nice scenery for a metal festival as well. Like all the surroundings that's here, the nature and everything, and it's good for people to come and see this side of Norway as well. Not only go to Oslo, you know, where we don't have this grand nature as they have on the west coast. And
what did you think about the idea of having a Norwegian lineup festival for this special third edition of Blastfest?
Well, it's pretty bold, but I mean, there are a lot of good Norwegian bands out there, so you can easily pull it off. And I'm surprised that nobody thought of this before, actually, and no, it works out really well.
And are you going to stay here for tomorrow? And if so, is there any band that you're going to looking forward to seeing you tomorrow?
We don't have time. We're going straight to Australia. So unfortunately, we're leaving early tomorrow. We fly to Australia. We start Australia and New Zealand tour in just a few days. So we have to move in order to get there in time.
And yes, I heard about this Australian tour. So a little bit more about it, how many dates they're going to be playing, and what are you expecting from this tour?
Well, this will be our first tour in Australia and New Zealand, and we will do 4 gigs in Australia and 1 in New Zealand. We play Perth, Brisbane, Sydney, and Melbourne in Australia, and then we play Wellington in New Zealand.
What kind of crowd do you think is going to come to your show, since you've never been there before? Do you think there's going to be the traditional black metal fans, or there's going to be people that just want to have a show and they will come and check you out for the first time, probably?
Well, you never know when you go to a place for the first time, but I've spoken to several colleagues that have been touring down there, and they have really good words about the guy putting on the show that's bringing us down there, and they also said that the crowds are awesome down there. So we'll have to take their word for it, and hopefully we will be able to perform. Our performance will hold such a standard that they will respond well to us as well. So let's hope we'll be able to do our job, basically. Really looking forward to go down there. It's been a wish for us in many years. I remember we were playing a show with House Angel of Death I think it's back in like 2004 or something, and he wanted us to come down to Australia. That's kind of the first time that we were trying to go down there. It never happened until now, so it's way overdue, basically.
Looking forward to see and to hear about the reaction of the crowd. And speaking about touring, you recently finished another quite extensive US tour. What was it like for you to go back to such a familiar place outside of your home country?
Well, the US is the territory that we tour the most. This was our 11th tour, I think, in the US. And we also had a fortune to go down to Mexico as well at the end of the tour.
It's true, yeah, to Mexico.
Always nice to go down there. And this tour that we did in the US was together with two really good bands, Tombs and Full of Hell. This package was really good. It worked really well. We had a lot of audience coming out. This was the third headlining tour that we did on Massive Cauldron of Chaos in the US, and out of the three that we did one with Origin, and then we did one with Necrophagia. And I would say that this tour was probably the one that was worked best on all levels, like how the bands interact on a personal level, how the band package worked out, and everything was good. Everything was working right with this tour. There's like no battles to fight on any. Like sometimes when you go on tour, there's a lot of either logistics or a lot of things can happen basically. With this tour, everything went smooth. Everything worked out for the best. And out of the three, if I had to pick one tour, it will probably be this one. It was the best out of the three headlining tours that we did.
Yeah, that's the feeling that I had when I was reading about it, and
a lot of people as well, like, sold out shows and stuff like that.
Exactly. So, what about a European tour now? Because US, Australia. Then what about the rest of Europe that wants you?
Well, when we get back, it's festival season in Europe, so that will be first. So if we are to do anything in Europe, it will have to be this. This fall basically, but we're also starting to work on new materials. Let's see what happens. We'd love to do another European tour, or basically think we should do a European tour. We feel that we haven't properly done. There's still territories in Europe that we haven't covered on this album, and we haven't covered in a long time, so we love to do that again. Unfortunately, it's not up to us. It's a demand situation, and it's also that you have to get the right offers, basically. So let's just hope that the offers get right, and we're able to tour Europe again the way that it needs to be toured.
Absolutely, we're really looking forward to that. And well, speaking about your material, so is that the time to start talking about the follow-up to Massive Cauldron of Chaos already?
Yeah, well, there's always new material online, either in minds of one of us or several of us. This process never stops, basically. It's just a matter of time when we're gonna start rehearsing it or put it into the band situation. But ideas for it and where we're gonna go and everything, like, that's a constant process. That's never stopping, basically. And it can also, for me, it mostly happens while we're in the process of recording an album. And I see that the album kind of comes together, then my mind starts spinning, on to the next one, basically. It's always been that way. So also with Massive, that there's ideas for new stuff all the time, but when we are initiating those ideas, that's always the tricky part, basically.
And probably the most interesting part as well.
Well, I love being in studio, and I love the whole creative side of. That's probably the thing that I love the most about. It's the creative side of making music.
So with such an extensive discography, that started in 2003 with Liberation, and now you have such a great album, Massive Cauldron of Chaos. So how difficult it is for you now to put the set list together? Because like tonight you covered everything, and it was, it must have been really hard for you to sit down and say, this is what we're going to do for Blastfest. So what about for the Australian tour, for instance? What are you going to plan, and how difficult is it going to be for you to put together a set list?
Well, we kind of, like now we are showcasing obviously Massive Cauldron of Chaos, and what we start to realize when we start to talk about which songs we're gonna pick from that album was that all of the songs on that album is live material basically, and that's kind of probably the first album that we have that all of the songs are really good live songs. And
I could not agree more, definitely.
and we also we found that out when we played the Inferno Festival.
Mm-hmm.
When we played the whole album back to back, that all of the songs works really well live.
That was one of my favorite sets of the whole festival, and one of my favorite sets of yours. Yes.
It's also a really good experience for us
Yes.
as well. It's the first time we ever did something like that. Now we did it with the Hellfire album, also at the anniversary show last year. But doing that whole album like that, so it's kind of hard to pick the songs we're gonna play, because we can basically pick any of the songs from Massive Cauldron or Chaos. But we wanted to focus and have a good amount of songs from Massive, and then at the same time, like we did tonight, we wanted to pay tribute to the Hellfire anniversary as well. That's why we did do the 3 first songs from the Hellfire album, and because we got a lot of requests, people saying, "Will you do the Hellfire album outside of Norway as well?" So, no, that was never the intention. We just wanted to do. Well, basically, we don't do this to capitalize money on it. We just do it to honor the album, and we know that Hellfire is the album that kind of broke way for us in men. It's kind of the album that a lot of people came to know 1349. So it's kind of the breakthrough album. That's why we wanted to honor that 10-year anniversary, and that's also why we do the opening songs, so kind of the opening theme of Hellfire, to the 3 first songs from that album, while we tour the world, also to kind of let people take part of that honor as well. And then we dive into the Massive Cauldron side and jump a bit back and forth through the catalog and mix it up basically to get the best
Yes.
possible flow, you know.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's what it felt tonight. There was an absolute flow with the songs that were all connected together. Now, yeah, because you just told us that you don't have a lot of time, you're traveling to Australia tomorrow, so I'd like to discuss another creation of yours, which is this new item, the ale, actually 2 ales that you have. So can you tell us a little bit about this 1349 ale that you have?
Well, we made two beers. It's first we made a black ale. It came out in 2014 at Halloween, and it's brewed with together with Lervik from Stavanger. But we also have had it brewed in the US by a brewery called Surly, and that's where it all started. It all started in the US with the head brewer at Surly Brewery, Todd Haug. He came out to one of our shows in St. Paul, and then the whole idea started. He said, "Do you want to brew a beer?" And he said, "No, we want to brew 2 beers. 1 pale ale and 1 black ale. 2 needs to play 2 roles in one being a really big and massive, dark, complex ale, and the other one being a pale ale that's really refreshing and something that you want to drink after a show, like I'm doing now, basically."
Yes.
While the black one is going to have, it's going to be a beer for more spiritual and creative situations, so relaxing and just to take your mind on a trip, basically. Something to pond over.
Yeah, something you must be very proud of, because it sounds to me that you put a lot of attention and to the details for.
It took a lot of years to get the project rolling, yeah, and as I said, the first batch of this bottle was brewed in Stavanger with Lervik,
Yes.
Todd was there, and we brewed it with Mike Murphy, which is the head brewer at Lervik. And then Todd brewed also an American version that we had a release on when we played in Minneapolis last summer on the headlining tour with Necrophagia. And he then brewed both the black ale and the pale ale, so we both had them released there at the same time. Then later this summer, the pale ale came out in Norway as well, brewed with Lervik. So it goes back and forth basically. And we hope to maintain this project and to rebrew these beers. The black ale has been sold out for a long time now, so you can't get it anymore. You're lucky if you find it at a bottle shop somewhere. It's really rare and a lot of people ask for it.
Absolutely, like in England there has been a lot of demand, as you can expect. Yes.
So we hope to make more of it. I don't have an update on that situation right now, but what we always say to people, write an email to Lervik Brewery in Norway and tell them to make more 3049 beer. That's all they can do. If they say that there's a demand there, then they want to make more basically.
Yes.
And the pale ale, if you're lucky, maybe you'll get the last few bottles of it. It's about to run out basically. So.
Okay, well thank you. It's a very good piece of advice to let the brewery knows that yeah, there is a demand for it, and I'm sure there is. So, well, first of all, thank you for your time. It was a pleasure to speak to you. So I think it will be a very good way to part ways with you by inviting the director to come and taste the beers with us.
Yeah. Cheers.
Okay, so cheers.
Pleasure.
Do you want to try the chocolatey one?
Yeah, the chocolate one I would like
yeah.
to try as well.
Okay, I haven't
So-
tried the pale ale, so cheers. Thank you.
Cheers.
Skål.
Skål.
Thank you, skull. Cheers.
As you said, that's very refreshing.
Yeah.
It's really
So,
good.
yeah.
It's fantastic. Really, really good. Yes.